Any adult with half a brain can see that humankind has gone insane, to the point where I don't know if I'll upset the status quo if I throw poison in the water main. Listen close to everybody's heart and hear that breaking sound. Hopes and dreams are shattering apart and crashing to the ground. Yeah, I saw Dr. Horrible live last night. Like, it was a theater production of my show, or at my school, and it was amazing. And I am singing Dr. Horrible like crazy because the guy who played Billy was exactly like in PH, and it was awesome. And I'm gonna shut up now and actually do my video. Okay, guys, so after torturing you with that little bit of music, I am coming from you today instead, my pink lanky. Instead of doing a blanket fort, I decided that I wanted to sit in bed in my Victoria's Secret nightgown and talk seriously about this book that haunted me. I had to decide whether I wanted to go with the book that haunted me in a touching way or in a disturbing way. I decided to go with touching way because everybody else had kind of done disturbing. And little shout out, if I had gone disturbing way, I would have gone with Living Dead Girl by Elizabeth Scott, which was incredibly disturbing, and I recommend you all read it anyway because it's kind of a necessary book to read. But instead I decided to go with touching because I really wanted to talk about this book that not a lot of people talk about. So yeah, I want to talk about this book. It's Before I Die by Jenny Downham. I read it earlier this year, and I read it in one sitting. And I honestly did not expect to like this book, but it's probably been my favorite book that I've read this year, for sure. Again, Before I Die. Before I Die is about a teenage girl. She's 16, and her name's Tessa. And she is dying of cancer, and she knows she's dying of cancer. And when the book starts, she's just in bed. She doesn't want to get out of bed. She's just kind of miserable and sick of her life and sick of being trapped, essentially. And then she decides that because of the influence of her best friend and things, that there's some things she wants to do before she dies. So she starts making a list on her wall, because she doesn't have any paper. She starts making a list on her wall of all the things she wants to do before she dies. And this could have been really cliche, but instead it wound up being things that you didn't expect. Like, it wasn't like, I want to jump out of a plane or I want to save the world. Instead it's things like she wants to lose her virginity, she wants to do drugs, she wants to do something illegal, she wants to be famous. And it's just all this list of things that she wants to do before she dies. So she and her best friend set out to do all these things that she wants to do. And it's very, very touching. You kind of see this girl wither away, but at the same time learn to live. So I really want to talk to you about Before I Die. For me, yes, it's a dark book, and yes, it's really kind of tragic because you're in the head of a girl who knows she's dying. But I always see it as more of a book about living because she has to learn how to live before she can die. And there's this amazingly touching love story. She meets a boy that lives next door who she doesn't even find attractive at first. But as she gets to know him, he winds up being this great person. And they develop this really sweet, touching relationship. And it's not the kind of, I know she's dying kind of tragic relationship I expected. Like, they're such solid characters, and you feel for them, and it just was so amazing and genuine and realistic. The book has kind of this dark kind of hopefulness. Like, yeah, it's tragic and dark, but again, it's more about living, and it just kind of fills you with a little hope. And I was just madly in love with the whole story, with all the characters, and with Tessa. Is such a realistic character. She can be so selfish and so annoying at times, but you can't really blame her or stop feeling for her because she's so real. You're so in her head, and this book just amazed me. It really amazed me. I've never read a book that touched me nearly this much. Um, and so I really hope everyone reads it. I think one reason but yeah, before I die, I really recommend everyone read it. Why is it haunting? I think I've clarified that. It stayed with me. I've read it so many times since then just because it's so touching and so powerful, and yeah. Tessa. Tessa stayed with me. So I want to pass her on to you now. So yeah, I guess that's it. Gretchen will be here tomorrow, and I hope you guys enjoyed this week of haunting books. And me and my pink blankie, we're gonna go back to bed now and maybe reread before I die. Or maybe think more Dr. Horrible. Evil inside of me is on the rise.